Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever part of the world and whatever time zone you're joining us from. Welcome. Welcome to the 2022 edition of the Black Consciousness Festival, where we're focusing on healing and reconnection. The Black Consciousness Festival is a global platform that connects people of African descent with each other by sharing and encouraging exchange through information, traditions, histories, intentions, traumas, celebrations, legacies, stories connecting to pride, power, and practice. Our inaugural year was in 2020, where we curated a month of conversations and activities around topics of Black consciousness. In 2021, we had a few events: a youth festival, a weekend of conversations on reparations, and in November, conversations on shift, as we explored the many ways in which we, as people of African descent, shared and rebirthed elements of ourselves. The recordings of all these conversations are available on our website, theblackconsciousnessfestival.com, and our YouTube channel. As you listen to the conversations, we encourage you to be kind to yourself. Pause, breathe consciously, move, and appreciate all that you are. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. Enjoy.
Hello, it's my pleasure. My name is Erica Ashton, and it's my utmost pleasure to welcome you to this conversation entitled Healing the Voice, a conversation with young Black activists. And I take delight in introducing the lead for this conversation, a woman who I deeply admire and love, someone who is multidimensional, multifaceted, and who I think is anchored in recognizing and owning who she truly is. Boa woman, Jamie Calendar. Jamie Calendar Filbert. You see, I put calendar inside your name. Jamie, how you doing, my dear?
I'm quite successful is my response today. To anybody ask me how I'm doing, I am successful. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you. It is good to see you.
Wonderful.
And thank you for saying yes to leading this conversation.
It's
And I
really
wish you the most enticing and educational conversation with these two young persons.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you. Grateful to be here and grateful to be back. Thank you for inviting me back. Greetings, everyone worldwide. I hope that everyone is doing well. I have the distinct pleasure of sitting with two very wonderful young people today to speak about healing the voice. So I'd like to go right into giving some thanks into the space and then asking them to join me in doing that. So I want to give thanks and praise, first of all, to the Most High Creator. I want to give thanks and praise to my mother and my father, Dennis and Veronica Filbert, who I'm very, very proud to be their daughter, to their lineage, to the ancestors who are healed and honorable, to the ancestors of Kalinda, the men, the women, and the children, to the spirit of Kalinda, to my lineage in Kalinda, King Supin, King Sine, King Congo Bara, King David Matthew Brown, King Carl Swamba, King Stokely, Mother Marian. I give thanks and praise for the work that they've done and the shoulders that I stand on. I want to invite my two guests into the space with me to also have them give thanks to their ancestors if they feel to do so, or to anyone that they choose. I'd like to introduce to you Janine Duncan Remy. Hi, Janine.
Blessings, Jamie.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's good to see your face. You look beautiful. Happy to have you with me. And I also like to introduce Trevor Wahile from Botswana. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
How are you? Good to see you, Trevor.
Yeah, I'm doing
Said it
great.
correctly, right?
You said it
Did I say your name correctly? Because it's important.
correctly. You said it correctly.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
good to see both of you. How are you doing, Trevor?
I'm doing fantastic. I think today I took a little bit of a break most of the day, so I think I'm really feeling good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Happy to see both of you. So I want to ask if you have any ritual that you want to begin with, because rituals are so important as African diaspora people, and opening that space and understanding what it means to enter space in a proper way. So if there's anyone you want to give thanks to or any way that you would like to conduct coming into the space, I'll give you a space to do that now. Janine, go ahead.
I'm gonna start
Definitely.
by just
Go ahead, Janine.
frequency and vibration. I'm gonna sound my bowl. I'm also gonna give praise and honor and blessings to the Most High Creator. I'm gonna give honor to all of my ancestors, my lineage before me, who have walked this path. James Eric Stephen Remy, Rita Remy, Cynthia Duncan, Vincent Duncan, Jared Remy, Michael Duncan, Calvin Duncan, Jared Duncan, and all of my ancestors.
Ashe and Simba Simbi.
Ashe.
Trevor.
I'd just like to give thanks to God and also to my amazing mother. And yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Good. Ashe, Amin, and Simba Simbi. So let's get into it. So I had to start with the thing that we're here to do, right? So I want to start
Yes.
with a Kalinda song, a love way, which are call and response songs in Kalinda. These songs are not just songs, but they're prayers. Yeah, as most
Yeah.
songs are. Yeah, they're chants, they are proverbs, they are laws. They are the ways that we live our life inside of Kalinda. So rebellion and war, all them mourn this hour.
Rebellion and war.
All them mourn this hour.
Rebellion and war.
Rebellion and war.
This is war this hour.
Rebellion
Rebellion
and war.
and war.
We been in a war in the Muru.
Rebellion and
Rebellion
war.
and war.
I like you say rebellion at once. Aha, I like that. Inside of using our voice, there's also healing in our voice. But the action of your voice is more than that which kind of pull upon the passing of your lips. Your voice or the action of voicing often exhibits its power before we even speak, before we even know how to speak. We hum, we moan, we groan. Yeah. The power source of your voice is your breath. And your breath is equivalent to your spirit. So the condition of your voice may be contingent upon the state of your spirit. So I want to start there because we started inside of spirit. I want you to tell me inside of the activism work that you are doing, what the state of your spirit is. And not just you personally, but you would be connected to your community, as you said, your parents, your ancestors, all these things. So what is the state of your spirit, which would equate the state of your voice? Janine, you want to go first?
I'll let Trevor go first.
Okay, beautiful.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Janine, for that. I think the position where I'm actually in, it's quite fulfilling because from the journey from where I started to where we are now, there's a huge progress and there's change, you know, especially when you get to see a lot of people coming back to you saying that you've managed to tweak or change how they were thinking or change certain things that they did. So I think so far with my journey of activism, I'm quite fulfilled and I'm happy that I've managed to embark on that journey, and I thank God for all of that.
Beautiful. Before we go to Janine, Trevor, tell us what it is that you do and tell us where you are. Although I already told the audience where you are, but tell us where you are. I like when you say it better than me.
Oh, okay. I'm from the beautiful country of Botswana, and and it's in the the SADC region of Africa. And what I basically do under activism, I'm a human rights activist, which is quite focused on sexual reproductive health, and I specifically focus on human right laws, which are there for young people, and we try to, as much as make or influence policies and laws that are for young people to best suit young people, and more especially nowadays, we want to be the young people who come up or who influence those policies and laws on how we want them to look like and how we want them to benefit us. So it's all about meaningful youth engagement. Yes.
Yeah. You didn't have to stop. I was totally there with you. Yeah.
I can see you're enjoying.
Yes, I'm enjoying you speaking. Absolutely. What is beautiful for me to sit with you all is to know that you are at the beginning stages of your activism. We have activism that is very trendy, yeah, these days. And activism for
Yes.
me is advocacy, it is activation, and it's action, yeah. And when you're doing activism work, sometimes you get so caught up in the performativeness of it, right? And being in the public eye in a certain sort of way that you forget that that work is actually on yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to constantly be accountable to the things that you're doing, including the work outside of you. So I appreciate hearing what you're doing. I can tell that
Yeah.
you are embedded in it in a particular way. Yeah. I want to ask one more question, and Janine, we're coming to you in a
Okay.
second. How is it with sexual health, reproduction, with gender-based violence work, with being a human rights activist? How do you go about, beyond the physical labor of this work, how do you go about invigorating the spirits of the people that you are trying to give voice to?
So I think it's very important that when you're doing your activism, you have to connect to people and make whatever you're advocating for relatable to their lives. So on daily basis within my country, one of the battles that we're fighting is gender-based violence. And what we're trying to do is that we see there's a huge gap of knowledge, and also there's loopholes within the law system. And actually implementing what the laws actually say, it's quite a different story within my country. I think most of African countries, you'd find they have amazing laws that they have written down towards fighting whatever cause that they're in. But when it comes to implementing such particular commitments or what they've said they would actually do, it becomes a challenge. So it's amazing because it tends to give people a huge different perspective. And whenever you get to bring something new on the table, it's a challenge also, because some people wouldn't appreciate it because of culture, because of how they were actually raised up. So we still have men within our society who believes that, they need to be controlling. They need to use violence in order for their voice to be heard. So my activism as a human rights activist is to actually say that, we could talk about things without using violence. We could solve our problems without using violence. It goes all the way to so many instances. I think it's common among African countries where, for example, Janine, when you get to school late, at the gate, you're bitten by the teacher for coming late. And it doesn't necessarily solve the problem of you always coming to school late. So we grow up with the mindset that for us to solve problems, we need to use violence. So these are the kind of the things which we're actually trying to educate people that there's a different, better way for us to live together.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to come back to that whole violence thing because I have a different theory inside of that. And the misuse, because you can misuse anything, and there's a misuse in violence that's happening. Because in African tradition, we have ritualized violence or ritualized war, yeah, which is very different from just plain old violence, such as Kalinda. Janine, my love.
Yeah.
Hey. So tell me how it is that you are able to, one, use your own spirit, invigorate the spirit of the young people that you're teaching, and tell us all about the work that you're doing in your activism. Because what I love about your work in particular is that it's not what people would typically call activism, right? So please tell us.
So my work and where I am at right now is, I call it the Great Reset. It's like at the beginning, dealing with young minds. That's where it all starts. The younger the better. And again, as what Trevor was saying as well, just cultivating that difference, because we're so accustomed just doing the same thing as what our parents did and what their parents did, and sometimes it's like mistranslated or misunderstood as to how we should really deal with the youths of today. Most parents don't really understand how to deal with it. They might just, as they say, beat for no reason, or the communication. And it's really amazing that we're talking about the voice, because teaching the children how to really express themselves, especially emotionally, because that's a part of what I do as well, in emotional intelligence. I do yoga with them, I do meditation with them. I run an after school program where I help them with their homeworks on revision and stuff like that. I work with athletes, young athletes, and football camps and academies, and just doing yoga and just introducing this new way of, let's say, being in connection with yourself. Stressing on the breath, as you spoke about earlier, with, the state of your breath is like the state of your voice. You draw that correlation, and that is so important because, the breath is the foundation to life. We could go a few minutes for without breathing, but we can go a few days without water and food. So breathing and breath is really foundation to life. And through meditation and yoga and emotional intelligence is where I really try to bring the youths to, and just getting that sense of knowing that they are in control of themselves. Like they are, you know, there's a master source, they are just connected to. And it is a lot of work, because dealing with children, as we say, the children are nearest the ancestors. Like what come out their mouth is just anything at any moment, but it's really important to listen to them as well, because, there's a lot of wisdom that they come to share with us. Just as we come to share with them, they have a lot of it. And even with my children, I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, but with my 6-year-old, like, she would say some things at time, and I'm like, what? But then when you really break it down, it's a lot of truth. And a lot of times as adults and as parents, we tend to really just shut them up, like, like, stop talking. And it's really important to listen to them and to have that conversation with them and to really hear them out, because it really comes from a place of, let's say, they really speak from their heart. It really comes from a place of sincerity. I mean, even if it may come out bad, it's only because they don't really know how to express themselves fully yet, and that is taught. So within my program, all these things is what I do, teach them emotional intelligence, because we're really losing them to these devices. They're not really in tune with their bodies, and, half the time they're doing stuff and they don't even know why they're doing it. And within my program, because I ran a summer camp as well, where I did somatic yoga and meditation and just a lot of mindfulness exercises with them, just getting them in tune with their bodies, because most times we separate, body from mind and spirit, and it's all connected, it's all one. So I know that the earlier that, we teach this to them, is the easier they transition through life, and the more connected they are with themselves, and in return with source, creator, and the universe.
Beautiful. There's so much happening in Trinidad and Tobago and really worldwide where children are concerned. And I'm sure inside of your work as well, Trevor, especially looking at sexual health, yeah, and reproduction that involves children deeply, yeah, before they even come into the space. What is one of the things that you would say that we as a country, and I'm specifically so much Trinidad, but Trevor, you can also answer this question as it relates to Botswana and particularly the world. What is one thing that you would say, and it's probably several things, but one thing that you would say that we as a country could do to use our voice in advocacy of the children in the space? Jenny,
That's for me.
that's
Okay. One way, and this is you say as a country, like how could we?
because we're speaking about collective voice, right? We all have
Right.
these individual voices, but if we put our voices together and we put it together when it's carnival time, we have no problem for that. Yeah, we put it together as a fete, we put it together as some kind of bacchanal, right?
Yeah.
How do we put the same power, right? Because we have the power source, which is the breath, right?
Yes.
So how do we use our breath to help the children in the country? Because without the children, without the youth of the country, there really is no country, right? It can't sustain itself. It can't maintain itself. Yeah. And you don't have to have, I really would like, and it's for the people that are also listening as well too, to think about the question, right? But whatever suggestions you have, because you all are the future. I looking young, but I'm not so young, you know? I go in just now. So what you have to say and what you're thinking about is important. Yeah.
I would say that again, just really protecting, I would say, and just sharing wisdom with them, because what really happens and what doesn't happen right now, I believe, is like the link between the generation, like being able to share your experiences and your wisdom with children. Like nowadays, I don't believe that the grown-ups actually sit down and talk to children about stuff like that. I believe it's very surface. It's very, I mean, it's about what's going on TV. It's about what's going on in the headlines and stuff like that. We don't really have deep conversations and have an exchange. Because if you really go deep, I mean, I have conversations with my 6-year-old and the exchange is amazing, you know? So it's like, and most of the children is really just waiting to be guided. So if we really come together, and I mean, that is another part of it too, is actually just healing ourselves, because if we don't heal ourselves, we wouldn't know what to speak and say to the children.
Yeah.
Right? So as a community, I would say, and I mean, you see as a country, but again, it kind of starts within the community as well before we could get as big as the country.
Yeah, but the whole
And
country listening, the whole country listening, the whole entire world listening.
yeah,
All
and
of your ears right now. So what I want you to do is to give the country it, and hopefully it'll fall into those communities and into
yeah,
the individual spaces. Yeah.
yeah, it's just have that exchange, you know, have meetings, have sister circles, have adults and children circles, just having that exchange, handing down, you know, try to remember the ways of our ancestors and really try to pass these things down, because it's really important. The children want to be led and they really don't know what to do. So then they get confused and they just follow their friend or they follow whoever is just looking more entertaining, and you know, just really have that rapport with them, really get close to them, speak to them, and teach them the right thing.
Yeah. And I think listening to them is key, right?
Listening to them as well, yeah.
Sometimes we talk about healing, and again, it can be this very surface kind of thing that's
Hmm.
going on, a bit narcissistic, like I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing, but there's
Yeah.
not actual work that's going into lots of lip service.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And in order for any of us to heal, there has to be some sort of listening, because that goes with the
Yeah.
voice as well too. Knowing when to hush my mouth, which is something I'm
Yeah.
learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
knowing to hush my mouth and listen to what's going
Yeah.
on in this space, especially with children, because like you said, they have so much to give and so much to offer, and being heard helps to heal the voice. Yeah.
Yeah. For
Trevor,
sure.
yeah, thank you for that, Janine. How would you
Yeah.
answer that question? What wisdom would
Uh,
you give us?
I think the most interesting that probably the country and the world could do is invest in behavioral change of children and young people.
Mm,
A lot of problems that or social ills that we're facing as globally, you'd find that they are somehow linked to behavioral change that probably
Mm-hmm.
causes a lot of problems, whether we're talking about diseases, whether we're talking about crime, whether we're talking about um, just certain lifestyle that people live. It's always associated with behavioral change. I think we need to put more effort down from our families, where now our parents could actually take time to invest in their children, to pay attention to them, and also allow them to actually connect with them. And this definitely would outgrow to the community, because from the beginning we have a wonderful setup that we've created within our families. So I think investing in behavioral change would solve a lot of problems. I've seen a lot of times, even currently, we have um, ways in which we're trying to solve problems that we're facing as a country, but we're not actually, finding the root source of the problem and trying to, to curb it. So we're fighting an endless battle. So I think investing in behavioral change would be really awesome in order to nurture young people and children, so that they could actually grow up knowing and understanding, what they really want. Somebody once told me that if you don't actually take time as a parent or guardian to teach your children certain ways, you are allowing them to be taught anything
Yeah.
by the community, even if it means that thing is actually wrong for them or it's a bad thing for them to learn. So I
Yeah.
think before somebody writes something bad on that blank paper, let's make sure that we do something about it.
yeah. One of the issues too is that you can't teach if you haven't learned yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys can relate to this in both of your areas of
Mhm.
working. What is the biggest challenge that you have when using your voice? Whether it's teaching, Janine, I teach as well too. I've taught children for almost 30 years of my life, and I know I mentioned this when we spoke before, but I know that parents
Yeah.
are more trouble than the children sometimes, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And having the
Yes.
parents' support in teaching their children is incumbent. It must happen, right?
Yes.
So tell me what the biggest challenges that you have when using your voice. Because sometimes we can't heal something until we know, like you said, Trevor, the roots of the problem. Yeah? Trevor, you
So
can
as I
go.
said,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So yes, one of the major challenges are the parents, because again, they are the consultants for the children. So if they are not on board with what it is you are trying to share with their children, it will be hard getting it out there. So parents, a lot of them are stuck in old ways, in they are not healed within themselves, they're not really taking any time to do these things. So when I put out something new as like yoga or just emotional intelligence, as Trevor was saying, like behavioral issues and stuff, that's like a major thing. A lot of children have anxiety. A lot of children, they can't really, they have trauma, they can't really stay still for too long. Um, they can't concentrate, they can't focus. And the things that I offer can definitely help them with all of these little issues that they may have. And, just informing them into, well rounded individuals. And, if the parents don't really see the benefits of it, they won't really send their children. And
Right.
again, let it be in something new. it's something that they're like, I understand what you're saying, I don't know, but I don't really think I have time for that. All right, have time. Sometimes those are the responses.
Yeah.
Again, I would say resources in terms of just being at the Great Reset. So at the beginning stages, not having as many resources as I would like to at the moment could be challenging, but also understanding that it is the beginning and I am going to grow. And, it's a growing experience. So that's one of the challenges. Also, the children could be challenging as well,
Right.
because again, it's new concepts that's being presented to them. And sometimes they may not receive it as you may like them to, because you could see the benefit that it may have upon them, but they would not be able to see it. They just like, Miss, I want to play. I don't want to sit down and do this, So sometimes, it is a work in progress. And day by day, as more that they do it and the more they get in tune to it, as I said, my summer program, I was actually really surprised that the children were so open and receptive to just the new concept. Because I did a lot of mindfulness stuff with them activities, but again, it was calm and cool, but it was still fun and enjoyable for them.
Yeah. Play
Because,
is
sorry?
I was going to say that play is such an important thing to implement
Yeah.
with children and adults. And I just want to, before you continue, tack on to what you're talking about. Being a parent, I'm not a parent directly. I've never birthed any children, but I have mothered many children, and I have nieces and nephews that are very grown now and having their own children. And I have sister friends and brethren that are parents. Being a parent is a difficult thing. Yeah. Mothering and fathering is not easy. Yeah. Being a child as well is a difficult thing, and there has to be a middle ground. I want to offer to you, Janine, that in your teaching of the children, offering something so that the parents can also learn. And maybe you're already doing that already. And not just learning apart from the children, but with them. Because I've found that in my work, that actually helps, that engagement where they get to learn with the child, because then the child will start to teach them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it opens the space up as well, But it's difficult on both spectrums. And what we miss sometimes, because we're talking about healing, what we miss sometimes is if a person is not healed, they can't pass on certain things. They can't pass on healing if they don't have healing, right? They're going to pass on what they have, and the child then becomes the child's responsibility as they get older, which is the case of the parents. People also, they stop growing at the point that they are hurt. So if they got hurt at 6 years old, the growth stopped there. So then you'll have somebody that's 40-something years old raising a 6-year-old, but they're actually 6-year-old themselves. Right?
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah. So I get the challenge. I get the point about resources. And one of the things I really want to try to pull out of you is the challenge for your voice. Yeah. Not so much the external challenge, but the challenge for your voice in those situations, because I'm sure to explain to those parents, this is why this thing is important for your child, right? Is a challenge. Yeah. In itself. And I want to know how do you, Janine, actually work with that when you in your quiet moments and you're trying to come up with the lesson plan and trying to figure out how to get this parent to understand why this is important so that the child could benefit, right?
Yeah. And even as you're saying, Jamie, like even as it's a work in progress, because even this is a work in progress, because I've grown from being someone who just, I would have it all here, but I just wouldn't say it. I would just rather do it. I'm more of a doer. I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to get to doing it. Right? So even having to explain sometimes is difficult, because you're trying to pull words, you're trying to do everything when it's just in your head to action, It's easier to do it that way.
Right.
So even having to present something to parents, as you would say, in explaining, it is very difficult, because again, sometimes they're not there with you. Like you will be talking to them, they're either distracted or they just like, yeah, I understand what you are saying, especially even when it comes to like nutrition. That's a major factor. I would speak to parents mainly about like the children nutrition and about their screen time.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation within itself is just very it's a touchy one because I understand exactly sometimes they may, it's something quick fast, they might just pick up some junk food for them and it ends up being that everyday, you know, not even a little home cooked food, not even some fruits and vegetables, nothing of that sort. So even having that conversation when I can understand, yes, you're busy and so on and forth, but this is important. I mean, it's a child, it's not, it's a life. So you have to care about what you're putting inside of
Yeah.
this body, right?
These things are easier said than done. I want to go to Trevor for a second, but
Mm-hmm.
I want you to keep in mind, Janine, because again, this work that you're doing is heavy work. Working with children is not easy work at all. And again, it's not something that people really look at as activist work, but it is exactly that. Yeah. Engaging those parents and engaging them from a space of compassion is part of the key. It may not be the whole key, yeah, but it's part of the key. So even if, and I'm sure because I can tell from your spirit that you're an empathetic person. So finding that moment of just ask them how you're doing before you tell them about all the things that they need to do.
Of course,
How
yeah.
you, how you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Before we need to sit on, do this little ritual, I figured that this thing out really working, or bring them in, bring them into your space and have them do it. And some of you, it won't work for everybody, but you might find out one
Yeah.
parent you can get through, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. That definitely works. That I've been trying that. I mean, it has been working. Introducing certain things to them, that is definitely what has been working.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And again, my heart goes out to you because I know it. I know it very well. So I send you strength for that. And we're going to come back to give you an exercise later about how you can keep your voice together because we need your voice in the space to be well. Yeah. Trevor, challenge with your voice and the work that you're doing. And you do so many different tiers of work. So you can pick one because your voice is that one
Yes.
voice. Yeah.
I think when it comes to challenge with uh, I with my voice, I did a lot of hesitation. I think I waited for opportunities for them to present themselves for me to have an impact within my society. And probably it was because I was still learning my ways on how to actually approach situations, how to navigate through channels and who to actually ask for assistance whenever you get to need it. But I think I hesitated for a long time to actually step out and say, I can initiate I can initiate a motion where we are trying to strive to get or achieve a certain goal. So I think starting this year, that's when I started, just going to the forefront and knocking on doors and talking to people whom I think that they would be really resourceful in order to help me. So I think one of the challenge was that what am I going to say and how do I say it really? And it brought another challenge to me, which was I had to consume a lot of information. I'm still learning, and learning never ends. So you need to learn a lot of things and try to make or um, digest that information to come up with creative ways in order to influence people in order to achieve what you're standing for or the cause that you're actually pushing for people to reach out. So um, that is one of like challenges that I've faced, and I think the last one is similar to Janine's one, which is resources, not necessarily financial, because I think that's a global pandemic also, but um, I had a challenge of whenever you get to need people who are resourceful within the space that I'm in, they were really hard to reach. And they never really get to, give full attention whenever you had the opportunity to actually present what you're standing for. So most of the time, you'd find a lot of young people who are activists within my country. It's either they are manipulated, they're taken as tokens for whatever that they're representing. So they're never really heard. So I think those are some of the challenges which slowly but surely we would actually will achieve better goals. Will actually come up with a better blueprint of how to do this.
Yeah. So two things that, well, one thing that both of you said was the challenge of what you say and how you say it, right? How do you get your voice across? Remembering that our voice is not just what we speak, but what we don't say
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also the doing, Janine. Yeah. Even when you're not speaking, right? The doing is also you using your voice. So I want to do a quick exercise before we start to wrap up our conversation. If you have a pen and a piece of paper that you could grab for me. Wonderful, you're prepared. Yes, I love all this.
We're ready for the exam.
Yes, I see. This is what, listen. The future is in good hands. I feel safe. I could be an old woman and I'll be good. So,
Yeah.
so you're gonna write for me for 1 minute. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a prompt word, and whatever comes out of your spirit is what goes on the paper. I don't want you to think, because part of healing any part of your body is being able to have a kind of an automated response to things, right? Just letting things unfold and unravel out of your being. Yeah. Because sometimes there's noise that's happening within our bodies as there's noise happening inside of the world. And you have to be able to quiet that space, like Janine does with her meditation. Yeah. Or Trevor, what you mentioned to me the other day about with your walks that you take. Yeah. So sometimes
Yeah.
we may not have the space to do that, but we might have a pen and paper handy, or we might have our phones handy that you could take 1 minute to do this and empty out that space so that you can continue on, and also find a space in that power source in your breath, yeah, in your articulators, in your tongue and your lips. So I'm gonna get my phone here. Just get the 1 minute. Time you. You're gonna stop promptly at 1 minute. Second. So your word, don't move the pen from the paper, okay? Keep the pen on the paper, no stopping and thinking. Your word is change. Go. And stop. And we'll do one more. So you can turn your page if you need to. You can continue to write from there. The word is vibration. Go. And stop. What was beautiful just now is the silence for those 2 minutes. So if I want to just do
Yeah.
something together, I'm going to ask you to read what you've written. So if we all could take a deep breath, we're going to breathe in through our nose for 5 counts. We're going to hold it for 5 counts and then let it out through your nose for 5. We'll do it 3 times together. Ready? Deep breath in. So when you breathe in, you should feel your belly expanding. Yeah, when you breathe out, you should feel your belly going back towards your spine. 2 more. Last one. Beautiful. We should do that at the beginning.
Definitely.
So if you could read for me what you have written from your spirit, from that space that sometimes the rest of your community may not be hearing, and so that we could hear your voice in this moment. And I hope that at least a part of this conversation has been a doorway to healing, any part of yourself. And anyone that's listening, hopefully it can be that as well. Thank you both so much for what you have shared. You're inspiring, you're amazing, you're brilliant. And I'm so appreciative that our future is in your hands. Yeah? Anyone can go first.
I'll go first.
Go ahead, Janine.
I have change is the one thing that is constant in life. The sky changes, the weather changes, and so too does my emotions and decisions change.
And vibration.
Okay. Vibration is my voice. Vibration is my heartbeat. Vibration is my energy and my frequency.
Give thanks. Beautiful. Trevor. I think he's frozen. Yes. Well, while we're waiting for him to come back, Janine, I want to again thank you. Can you tell us about where we can find your work, Divine Mayat Healing Center, correct?
Yes, Divine Ma'at Healing Center. I am on Instagram under that name. I am located in.
Spell it for the audience. Spell it for the audience.
Oh, sure. DivineMaatHealingCenter. Divine Ma'at Healing Center.
And they can find you on Instagram and Facebook there?
Instagram, just Instagram, yeah. I am located in Belmont, Trinidad, Freetown, Trinidad. Yes. And I do my after school program runs on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the Belmont Community Center. This is after school, so from 3:30 to about 6. That's where I do the homework and revision and mindfulness activities, emotional intelligence activities. I also do yoga and meditation starting retreats. So I'm going to be starting retreats for adults. And you'll be able to find all this information on my Instagram. And yes, I also work with athletes as well, doing yoga with them, which is very beneficial. So
you work with the elderly, you said?
No, athletes.
Athletes, beautiful.
Yes,
Okay.
in a football academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I love that the work traverses space in that way. Yeah. I think that we've lost Trevor, and hopefully he'll come back in, but we are getting ready to wrap up. So I want to say Thank you so much, Janine, for the work that you are doing, sending you so much strength and powers and healing energy towards the parents, towards the children, and that those children may be able to see their reflection in you and vice versa. Yeah. I
It's
want to
true,
thank you.
then I'm telling it right back to you, even with the work that you are doing. I'm very interested in, is it Kalinda?
Calendar.
Yes, I
Yeah.
am very interested. So we really have to talk because I'm
What to
very much
do.
interested, and your spirit and your energy is just amazing.
Thank you, sis. I'm only reflecting you. I'm only reflecting you. That's all that's going on. It's beautiful to see, you know, because I started, like I said, I started doing work with children at a very young age. I was a child myself. And I was the kind of child that I remember being a child and what I went through as a child.
Right.
So I'm a big child advocate. And again, child for me is not a number. You know what I mean? I
Right.
have
Of course.
nephews that are in their 20 something. Those are still my babies to this
Of
day.
course.
Can't
Yeah.
I don't play with yeah. I don't play with children. I don't play with people's children. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm grateful. Trevor is back. Fantastic. Trevor, will you please read us your change and vibration writing? And then we're going to wrap up. Are you hearing me, Trevor? I think it's a little lagged. I'm not sure if he's hearing me. Yeah, the signal is going bad. Okay, so I want to say thank you to Trevor. I'm sure that he will probably pop back in again, but we may be going by then. I want to say thank you to Trevor Wahile from Botswana for all the work that he's doing, sending him energy and light and strength and protection with the kind of work that he's doing as well. I want to thank both of you for joining us for this conversation today. I hope that the audience has gotten something out of this conversation, and hopefully people will write in the chat on other ways that we could be healing the voice or looking at where the root of pain has started in the voice. And again, for me, it's not just about the voice. It starts way before that. It goes to the breath and what your voice is made up of. Because I don't think people even think about what it takes to speak. Yeah. And then what your body needs to do to speak, and then the courage that it takes to speak. Yeah. So give thanks to everyone who's been listening. Give thanks to the Black Consciousness Festival. Give thanks to Janine, Duncan Remy, and Trevor Wahile. I am Jamie J. Filbert, and you all have a beautiful evening or morning wherever you are. Blessings.
Yep.